competing at a combined weight of 405 pounds. They are the reigning, defending, undisputed Racing Dudes Triple Crown champions of the world, the Magic Mike Show.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 469. Nice, Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
Oh, boy. I tell you what, Mike, if you like making money and you're not watching Dudes Who Bet Daily, what are you doing with your life? We are just cashing bets all over the place. We're betting baseball. You'd think we were actually baseball fans based on how well we're doing betting baseball.
Yeah, who knew, man? It's been a nice little run the last couple weeks in baseball. A lot of plus money winners. You had a nice little under today. You're streaking on, what are you, 5-1 on your last 6 total bets too? So it's been a pretty good little run here. We just got to hope we can keep it going, keep the bets home. And I would like to wish everybody a wonderful day, except for the Belmont stewards, who they are making the wrong decisions for me here last weekend and then today again. So not happy with them, but everyone else, I hope you're doing great out there. Belmont stewards, I hope your coffee is too hot.
That's fun. Speaking of that, I just made a cup of coffee. I'll apologize in advance if I don't have the same exuberance that I usually have on the show. My son was sick, went to a birthday party last weekend, and then he was sick on Monday, and we were afraid he actually had an ear infection, but it seems like he was okay, just a 24-hour real big spike. And then yesterday it hit my wife, and today it's got me. It actually hit me shortly after Dudes Who Bet Daily ended. So we're going to try and give you the best show, and we're going to try and get through the Belmont Late Pick 5 on Saturday, June 3rd, without the stewards interfering in that sequence. The first 5 races, I don't really care what you do, personally, but the last 5 races, stay out of our way.
Magic, this is a no-excuse show. Bring the A game. I don't want to hear it. You're wait a second. You're drinking coffee and you're sick?
Yeah. I need something to pep me up.
No, jeez. Unbelievable. Just riders it up. Let's go.
What's wrong with coffee?
Well, you're sick and coffee. It's not good for you. That's not a good combo. You just got to let your body heal. Get some chicken noodle soup. Get some fluids, some Gatorade, some electrolytes.
Coffee is fluids. It's fluids pushed through coffee grounds.
Unbelievable.
Riders up! And I almost had it, didn't have this ready to go either, too. It's going to be a rough day. It's okay. We're going to get through it together. Here we go. First leg of the Late Pick 5 at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 3rd. Race 6. I've got 10 fillies and mares 3 and up, plus 2 also eligibles, plus 2 MTOs, sprinting 6 furlongs on that inner turf course. The N1X allowance level. Where'd you go on top, buddy?
I think this is a tough race. I didn't have a monster opinion here, but give me Gallon Rush, the 10 horse, all the way on the outside. Clement, Jose Ortiz returns aboard just like last time here. I thought that was a really good effort. First off the layoff as a 4-year-old, now getting second off the layoff. It's one of those horses I've liked for a while. I remember when this one debuted all the way back in 2021. I probably talked about her in the Grade 3 Matron now I look back at it because that was a bubble rock race too. But this is a horse that has had a ton of talent, has struggled to stay at the track. The form is kind of, well, both literally and figuratively a little bit muddy because we've been pulled off the turf 3 times in the career for Gallon Rush. But when she turf sprints, she is in a rush. And so I'm going to go with the 10 horse on top. But I do think it's tough. I'm going to spread here.
I went too deep here, and this was my top pick as well. I used 2 horses out of the same race here. Gallon Rush, that race won by Lady Milagro, who was a long shot, 15 or 13 to 1. It was a nose victory, but even at the 8th pole, that horse was in front by about 6 or 7 lengths. Huge lead for Lady Milagro, and then she was screaming for the wire, as I'm sure everybody who bet her that day was. This horse came absolutely flying with the flourish, in a rush, like you would say. A second off the layoff, second start at age 4. You would assume this is going to be a big move up for her. And Jose Ortiz riding 23% winners in the last year for Christophe Clement, 60% hitting the board. So all good numbers. You should get a career best effort. It is slightly concerning that she is 1 for 10 in her career. She hits the board a lot, but A lot of those efforts, it's just missing. And with turf sprints, you know this, Mike, it's all about getting the perfect trip. Any kind of trip trouble can really kind of throw you off, including last time out. Jose Ortiz decided at the 8th pole, I don't need my riding crop, and just kind of threw it away and decided to hand ride her home, and she still almost won.
Yeah, only 6 efforts on the turf, 4 on the dirt, 0 for 4, never finishing the money on the dirt. The 6 turf efforts, 1 win, 3 seconds, 1/3. So as long as we stay on turf here, I think she's got a big shot. I'm going to actually go to the horse right to her inside is the other must-use for me here. Redefined? I was going to go with redefined, but I don't think it is redefined, is it? No, it's maybe misspelled redefined. Anyway, I'm going to go to one horse in second here. Look, this horse ran at 5 furlongs first out as a 3-year-old at Tampa. Went 21-2, 44-4, and it was on the pace. That's not what this horse wants to do. And because that Tampa turf course, you have to be more forwardly placed if you're turf sprinting. I think that was probably the plan that day. But that is, Redefined wants to come from off the pace. If you go back to the New York efforts as a 2-year-old, all of them were solid. Was in that Grade 3 matron, was in the Grade 3 matron in 2022, a year after Gal in the Rush. Ended up running second to American Apple. Was a pretty darn good turf sprinter there. I think there's enough pace in here for her to be able to sit off it and close. I think the trip is going to go back to what we've seen in New York. And if that's the case, I think she's got a big shot here at 5-1.
I didn't use her. I did consider her, and if you want to go a little deeper, Mike and I both spread like crazy in the last leg because it's a classic New York bred claiming race. So we spread a lot in that race. If you got a stronger opinion and you want to go a little deeper somewhere else, this would be a good horse to use. My biggest concern with her is that this is her first time stepping outside of her restricted age group, right? As a 2-year-old, obviously she's only facing 2-year-olds, but last time out, it was straight 3-year-olds at Tampa, and she didn't really show up, and she probably needed the race, right? 144-day layoff. Second off the layoff, she should improve, but now she's facing older horses, including the 10 horse that we like a lot in here. So I didn't use, but if you want to go a little deeper, I think is a good one to use. The other horse I used, and I know you did as well, number 7, Anna Kareninen. Hope I said that right. I usually say one too many N-N-N-N-Ns at the end of it. It's going to be third off the layoff for her. As a Chad Brown trainee, and it was privately purchased after running very well overseas in France, in her native country. She was a stakes winner over there, sprinting at 6 furlongs. And then what does Chad Brown do the first time she's in America? He puts her in a Grade 3 race going 2 turns in the middle of the championship at Gulfstream Park. A little tough spot for her. That's okay. Papilio, who was second in that race. Papilio came out and won next out. Cairo Consort, we saw how good she was all winter at Gulfstream Park. So lots of good horses in there. And then last time out at Aqueduct, at first I thought, well, shoot, she should have had every reason to get there, and she didn't. And then I watched the replay, and she was just kind of like, she was watching Lady Milagro, and the horse was coming to her, but Gal in a Rush just came flying past her the very last second, and I don't think Anna Kareninen was getting better than third anyway. But at the last second, Gal in a Rush and Lady Milagro kind of pinched her out a little bit, and she had to take up. I think that difference is we're looking at a half length that she loses as she's in third, maybe a neck, and that looks a lot different than it does third beaten the length when you've got the second place horse in here as our top pick. So I went 10-7 with my 2 picks here in this race.
Yeah, I like the 7 as well. This was actually the 4th horse on my tickets. I have the 3 Gumbo. I'll get into that in second and third. But I think the Anna Kareninen makes sense here. The horse is better sprinting. You mentioned it. Was a stakes winner overseas sprinting. Never went further than 7 furlongs. Then came to the U.S., ran in that Grade 3 race at Gulfstream. Also drew the rail. And they didn't go super fast early and didn't really get a great trip because of that rail draw. So there's a lot of excuses in that first U.S. effort. Wasn't good enough to beat Gal in a Rush last time. That to me was the biggest knock, and the reason I almost didn't use the 7. But because I found 2 singles in the sequence, it let me spread a little bit more here. The 3 Gumboat for me is one of those horses where I thought this horse was phenomenal in 2021. Obviously was not able to get back to the racetrack very much. Ran once in 2022. It was an effort over at the Limestone, a stakes race at Keeneland. I thought ran okay, but not great. Russian and Dairy Name were both in that race, who I think are 2 pretty good turf sprinters, especially in that specific 3-year-old group. Now she's back first out as a 4-year-old here. Shug sends her out. Cancel gets the pickup mount. I think this is your speed of the speed. And right now at Belmont, if I think there's a speed of the speed and I don't see everyone really pressing like crazy, I think that you have to kind of use that horse. Diamond Hands right to the outside has some speed, but that's all going longer. So I think Gumboat can clear here and get a lead. If that's the case, I think she gets awfully dangerous. I went 6 furlongs at Aqueduct, was able to go gate to wire there. And I just think there's some upside here. And if you look at Shug's numbers, off 180 plus days, 24%, first time Lasix, 22%, turf sprinting, 16%. I'm going to trust that this horse is ready to go. And if Gumboat shows the improvement from 2 to 4 that you'd expect, I think that she makes a ton of sense here. So I'll use the 3 as well. And the last one on for me is the 9-horse Michelle M, 15-1 on the morning line here. Clement calls Rosario, which, we have our feelings about Rosario, but that is his first call generally. A really interesting horse, too. I mean, this horse at 2 ran twice over synthetic, broke the maiden, went right up to a $129,000 stakes race at Woodbine. It ran okay, not great, but just okay in that race. This is a more realistic spot. It's first time in Clement's barn. And the fact that you've got the 10 Gallon of Rush here and you still decide to put Michelle M in here and Rosario picks up the mount, not one of the second tier riders. I get that he's not on the 10. It makes sense that Ortiz stays on that mount. But the fact that Rosario is the one who shows up here on Michelle M, I'll take a little bit of a shot with a 9 at 15-1.
Yeah, I did look at both of those horses. The Gunboat was actually third up for me for all the reasons that you mentioned there. I just was worried about the 414-day layoff, but is owned by the breeder Stuart Janney, and you know that the by Warfront out of a Blame mare. If they didn't think Gunboat was going to be ready to come back to the races at age 4, she's got a big prospect, a big future as a broodmare prospect. So I'm a little nervous about leaving the 3 off. As far as the 15 go, I'll let her beat me. I know you brought up Rosario riding for Clement, which is a great angle, but I think in this race, it's going to be a little bit too much for her to do. And we haven't seen her on turf yet. She did run well in synthetic in her debut, but there was also at Presque Isle Downs, a little bit tougher spot here at Belmont Park. You talked about Diamond Hands. Neither of us used Diamond Hands in here, and my concern with her, it's she's a 3-1 favorite. It's Irad, it's Todd Pletcher. She doesn't like to pass horses, Mike. You look at her past performances, and you have to go all the way back to her debut at Saratoga in August of 2021. 9 starts ago, all the way to the very beginning, to find any point when she passed horses. And even then, she just kind of ran in place. It just tells me that other horses just kind of faded off out of that race. So I didn't want to use her. The cutback makes her interesting. She has been running a mile on the 16th, mile and 8th last time out. I'm just worried that she just can't pass anybody, and I don't think she's going to get the lead. I think that's going to be the 3.
Yeah, the price and the fact of the setup is, to me, what kills it. I mean, cutting back, you really have to have a different type of speed, right? I mean, she makes the lead going a mile. Well, she didn't even make the lead, but she pressed a pace of 46-4, going a mile and an eighth. When she's made the lead, she's gone 48-2, 49-4 to the half. This is a different world. I mean, Gumbo can go 44 to the half, 44-4, and hold on. So just a different type of speed that you need here. And I think Gunboat has it. I think Diamond Hands doesn't. If Diamond Hands doesn't make the lead and is chasing Gunboat, someone catches them, right? I mean, so for me, the way that she wins just isn't very logical here, especially at the price. And Pletcher and Ortiz are going to get bet. So I'm going to try and take a little bit of a stab against the favorite here, going 5 deep, and see if we can get a price home in the first leg.
Let's move on. Second leg of the Belmont Park late pick 5 on Saturday, January 3rd, race 7. We've got 9 maiden 3-year-old males going to mile and 16th on the outer turf course. A couple of debut horses, including the 3-1 second choice for Chad Brown. But where'd you go on top?
Another tough race here. I went to the 6 horse on top. I'm going to give a shot here to Ohana Honor. First time on the turf last time out. I thought was actually a really good race, especially first time finishing against older. Silvera rode that day. We're getting Pratt today, so you get a nice upgrade there. Love horses that are doing something for the second time. That's what Ohana Honor is doing here, second time turf. There's a ton of pace in here, too. I think that Ohana Honor gets a very good trip with Flavien Pratt. I like the price here. It's at 8-1. Realize we have to flip the script here on one of our rivals today in the 3-horse When Love Takes Over. But it just feels like Ohana Honor has a little bit more. It's a horse that was sired by Honor Code, stands for 20K, sold for $430,000. So I like the fact that we've got a big shot here from a price perspective there. And there are races on the dirt back at 2 that project out to this horse being pretty darn good. So if we can take a step forward here with Ohana Honor, I think we got a big shot at 8-1 on the morning line.
I didn't use Ohana Honor, and a big reason I also didn't use the 3 When Love Takes Over, who this horse was behind. But it was a photo finish, right? The 3 horses all right there at the wire.
The 6 also steadied in the race as well.
Yeah. I think would probably be my 3rd horse up in here. I almost singled in here. I almost actually singled the 8 redistricting. And I was laughing because Mark Heff says these Kalleward stable horses have the worst names. Sounds like a nerdy engineer names them all. Let me introduce you to the owner, Seth Klarman. He's a nerdy financial engineer. That's exactly who he is. That's why all of them are, there's domestic spending, there's search results. All of them are just either financial or engineer related. So that's why Kalleward stables have a certain pattern to how they're named. Now this horse, first time starter for Chad Brown. Irad is going to ride. Kalleward bought this horse for $200,000 as a yearling. Is sired by Kingman, who is a great sire overseas. But when Kingman horses come to the U.S., especially when Chad Brown is training them, oh boy, look out, they're pretty great. As far as this horse's family goes, he's a half to 5 older winners. 4 of them are stakes placed, including one that did so in the United States. 3 of them are grandchildren of Invincible Spirit. There's another one who's by Invincible Spirit himself. And the dam won their debut going a mile. So there's a lot of reasons to love the pedigree for this horse. You are getting a short price because it is Chad and Irad with a well-bred horse. But I almost singled the 8 in here. I really, really like the 8 a lot. I ended up going too deep. But what did you like about the 8?
I thought the 8 was it's one of those horses where, again, if I'm singling later and I have the ability to use horses, I mean, I'm never going to leave the 8 off here. And you kind of nailed it. Like, this is a Kalleward horse. Kingman's the sire. Ortiz is riding. It's all the signs that it's a horse that's going to fire first time for Chad Brown. I don't love that it's a 3-year-old because a lot of time they want to try and have these horses running it too, but I don't hate it either. This also isn't the saltiest bunch ever. I mean, and it doesn't seem like there's a world beater in here, so it seems like it's a pretty good spot for a first-time starter to take a shot. So I thought the 8 was one of those kind of you had to use type horses. This was my 3rd horse on the ticket. I went to Cumberland, the 2, as the top pick. Look, again, speed on this Belmont turf has been very, very good. Cumberland is the speed of the speed here. I'm not sure who else wants the lead. Like, the 1 horse Certified Lover Boy has shown pace before, so I wouldn't be shocked if the 1 kind of presses the 2 a little bit and Rosario decides to just sit off. The other big part is Kalleward beat this horse last time out. And if you look at that last race, I mean, they went a mile on the Gulfstream Park turf, and they went 23-3, 47 flat. 110 and 4 to 6 furlongs and finished in 134 and 3. I mean, that's racehorse time over that Gulfstream Park turf. And Kalleward is one of those where I think you're using and I considered using in the Pennine Ridge here. So the fact that Kalleward was the horse that ran this one down and that time was so good over that course, I felt like you couldn't leave the 2 off here. So I had 6 and 2 as my first 2 picks. I went with the other 2 first-time starters as the other 2. I think the 8, like you said, makes a ton of sense for Kalleward. Then Pavon, the 5 horse here, the other first-time starter for Jorge Abreu. This is the type of horse that wins for Jorge Abreu in these spots. He debuts over a mile. We talk about this all the time. First-time starters, 15%. Debuts over a mile, 21%. Rarely do trainers have better stats debuting at longer distances. Yep. So and when you're 21% over a mile and you're 15%, that means that, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, you're probably around 12%, 11%. So this is really what he does best when you're looking at first-time starters. Jose Ortiz picks up the mount. You're getting 8-1 here. I wouldn't be shocked if this 5 horse is a runner and a serious threat toward the end of the race.
I use the 5 real quick. Mark brings up why I left the 2 off. I think the 1 and possibly the 7 go with the 2 and try to go. And Mark says you're getting Rosario, which is like riding the wheel of mystery. He's either going to gun it or he's going to pull way back. If he pulls back, this horse doesn't have any chance in hell. So I didn't feel it's enough of a gamble doing a pick 5. I didn't want to gamble twice with Rosario in that spot. But a great horse to use. And yes, we're going to talk about Kalleward in a minute. Pavon, you nailed it. All good points about why we like this horse. Jose Ortiz riding for Jorge Abreu, 25%, 8 for 32 in the last year. And also, you missed Oscar Performance is just an absolute dominating sire with first-time starters. We usually like to play Oscar Performance. I know with the 2-year-olds, that's a big angle, but Oscar Performance is a very, very impressive 3-year-old as well, and this horse should have every chance to get there. So it's interesting. I'm using the 2 Ortiz brothers. This is the horse that kept me from singling the 8 because I thought, man, like you said, Mike, this is the kind of horse that Jorge Abreu can pop with first-time starters when you're not quite expecting it. And 8-1 is a great price on here. So yeah, definitely like that one as well.
I don't hate the look of just using the first 2 first-time starters in here. I mean, like I said, this is not a field of world beaters, right? It doesn't seem like there's those ultra-talented horses. Again, because I singled twice later, it really makes my life a lot easier because I can spread a little bit more and I can use horses like the 2 and the 6. I would have the 6 on the ticket no matter what. The 2 may have fallen off the ticket, even though it was my second pick here because of the price and because of the structure, depending on how deep I had gone in the next couple legs. But the freedom of 2 singles in a pick 5 ticket means that in the other 3 races, you can get as crazy as you want. And so that to me was the reason I was able to use these 4 horses. But I don't hate your strategy here of I'm going to use the 2 unknowns and hope that everyone else kind of doesn't improve and runs back to what they were. And one of them is a real horse.
We've both been disrespecting the hell out of the 9 Arrow of Time. The third first-time starter in here. I forgot about it too when I started talking about the race. It's the 9 Arrow of Time, a 15-1. Not this time. Probably not this time you're going to get the win. Maybe next time for you, buddy. That's okay. Next up, we've got the first of 2 races that Mike Somich has a single. Third leg of the Late Pick 5 at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 3rd, race 8. We've got 8 New York bred males, 3 and up, going a mile and a 16th on the main track at the N1X allowance level. Remember, Belmont Park's track is so big, mile and a 16th on both the outer turf and on the dirt. That's just one turn. Where are you going on top?
Well, we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 horses that want the lead. So I'm going to find a closer. Look, this seems like a very pace-dependent race. There's multiple horses that want to be out front. The mile and a 16th lends toward horses going faster early because it is a one-turn at Belmont Park. So I think you're going to see a ton of pace here, and I get a class dropper in Shadow Dragon for Belmont and Jose Ortiz. That just makes too much sense. I mean, not only do I think Shadow Dragon is the best horse in the race, the setup is perfect here for Shadow Dragon to be able to run from off it. Back-to-back-to-back graded stakes efforts coming in here, and now we're dropping to state-bred N1X allowance company. The Holy Bull, clearly the best race anyone has on paper here. Belmont thought highly of this horse to put that horse in the Holy Bull. We talked about it when we covered the race. I had the horse in the race and it just missed, although, hey, at least our boy won. This spot is just so much softer than what Shadow Dragon has been facing, and the pace setup is perfect for Shadow Dragon as well. It's one of those situations where you're like, well, if one of the 2 speeds doesn't go, are we still going to? No, there's like 4 speeds. There's 4 horses that want the lead here. There's 2 other horses that have pace. I think Shadow Dragon just gets the perfect setup and wheels home. And I actually think we get close to 2-1. I don't think this horse is going to get bet off the board either because, the 42 ace, I think will take money. Saflo's Mission on the inside, I think takes money, especially with how well Linda Rice has been going. So as long as those 2 take money and we get like 8-5, 9-5 on Shadow Dragon, this is a pretty good single to have in the sequence.
I went 3 deep here, all reasons that you nailed. By the way, that Holy Bull race, the horses that he outfinished includes Il Miracolo, who is a current contender for the Belmont Stakes, Lord Miles, who eventually won the Grade 2 Wood Memorial, and Cyclone Mischief, who out of that race was 3rd behind Forte in both the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby. By the way, 2nd in the Florida Derby, your Kentucky Derby winner, Mage. So screams back class. You've got to use the horse. And I agree with you, Mike. I think this horse, because of the last 2 races, you're not going to see this horse get completely bet off the board. It wasn't my top pick, but I want to talk about the other horse that isn't going to try and go for the lead, I think. And that's the 3 Inspector at 10-1. Broke the maiden via disqualification last time out. Now we're facing winners and older horses in this spot, which is a little, it's a little frustrating, or it's a little scary, I should say. But first of all, getting a good price on the horse, 10-1. He's not going to be, heavily bet, I don't think, even though he is owned by My Racehorse. But last time out is his first time as a 3-year-old. It was first time as a gelding, first time off of a long layoff here. And he ran really well. You had kind of a similar setup where he sat off the pace a little bit and the pace collapsed in front of him. And he and Refua were both gunning for it. And he was starting to really pass Refua. And then Refua just decided, I want to play bumper cars with you, and smacked into him pretty hard. And that's why the disqualification happened. But it was a good effort, especially, like I said, first off the layoff, first time as a gelding. Now we're second off, second time as a gelding, second start at 3 years old. And we're going back to Jose Lezcano, who was the rider the first 3 times for this horse for Steve Asmussen. So I'm going to use him. I think that 10-1 is one of those prices where it's too good for me to pass up when I have some questions about Shadow Dragon. Like, I think Shadow Dragon is definitely the class of the field. I don't think he's just an absolute dominating horse. And so for me, the way I structured my ticket, I did use the 3 Inspector. And then real quick, I also did use the 1 horse Safalo's Mission at 3-1. Linda Rice is doing really well. It's good to see her finally have some good luck. Justice for Linda. But I think this horse is going to, the way I've looked at the pace, I think the 2, 4, and 5 are definitely going to all gun hard for the lead. You've got Kendrick Carmouche hopping aboard the 242 ace, so that horse is going to be sent. I think Safalo's Mission gets a good pocket trip, saving ground inside. And last time out, Dylan Davis rode this horse pretty well. The horse did go to the lead and ended up not holding on, just finished second by a half length. But if you look 2 back, the horse was 3rd behind Mason Mania, who beat him last time out, was 3.5 lengths behind Mason Mania. So to me, that horse improved 3 lengths from one start to the next with Dylan Davis in the saddle. And I think being a little bit closer, this horse likes to be close to the pace. I think sitting off of the 2, 4, and 5 a little bit, when they gun each other and burn each other out, he'll be the first one to jump on him. It's just a matter of, can he hold off the 3? Can he hold off the 7, who is going to be churning? So I went 1-3-7 in this race.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the one, so 42 Ace and Sappho's Mission, I don't think want a mile on a 16th either. This is the one turn mile on a 16th. So if you want to make an argument that this is the right spot for them to do it, that's possible. But Mission Impossible on the top, City Zip on the bottom, I've got concerns going anything over a mile. And even at the mile, I mean, like the went mile 137 last time. It was 139 and 4 the race at Aquabrook before that, 140 flat the race before that. So the time's not exactly flying. If I tried to take a shot here, I mean, I guess you could make a little bit of a case for the 6 if you wanted to, who will not make the lead but come off it a little bit. And the 8, I think, is the other one you can make a little case for. But then you look at those and it's like, okay, well, we're coming out of a state bred allowance or state bred maiden special weight on the 6 where we dominated gate to wire and we're 13-1 in that race. It's a pretty big step up. And Union Fleet, the 8, like that's the horse to me that could be close to the pace and make a run. But again, 0 for 3 at the distance and doesn't really seem to want it. So it's tough for me to really get excited about anyone else in this race. And that was one of the main reasons I landed on the single with Shadow Dragon.
Yeah, it makes sense. As far as the 8 goes, that horse was almost 4 lengths behind Sappho's Mission at this level going a mile last time out. You know, the race of Sappho's Mission almost won. So that's no 8 for me. I think, you brought in some muddied form from Laurel Park where the buyers for Laurel Park, they always seem to be a bit overblown for my taste. So I usually downgrade horses leaving Laurel and coming here. But no 8 for either one of us in this spot. Bree wants to know, when does Linda Rice serve her suspension?
They announced it.
What, 2025?
2037.
Okay, there you go.
That's when,
that sounds
right,
more like
right about when she retires is when she'll be suspended.
Welcome to horse racing. If you're just tuning in, this is how we rule things. All right, let's move on, Mike. The penultimate leg of the Late Pick 5 at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 3rd. Race 9, the Grade 2 Pennine Ridge Stakes for 8 3-year-old males going a mile and an eighth on the inner turf. This is going to be a nice prep for the Grade 1 series of turf races over the summer at Belmont Park, starting with the Belmont Derby and then going to Saratoga, featuring the return of the 2022 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf runner-up Silver Knot for trainer Charlie Appleby. I do not understand. I mean, I kind of understand why the 8 is 9-5. I'm shocked that the 4 Silver Knot is not the favorite here, Mike. He's 2-1.
Yeah, I mean the 4 will be the favorite, and I don't like the 8 Farbridge that much. I was surprised by the run that Farbridge made at Churchill Downs last time. Webslinger came from way off it, was able to win at a big number there. I'm willing to let Farbridge beat me here. I wouldn't use Farbridge even if I wasn't singling here. To me, this was between the 4 Silver Knot and the 6 Calic. We mentioned Calic's race at Gulfstream Park, 2 back. I thought it was phenomenal. Then comes back at Belmont, goes gate to wire, gets a nice win against Open Company there. But haven't we learned our lesson? Like when Appleby sends these horses over, they're just kind of better. And you like Silver Knot was a $1.41 favorite at the Breeders' Cup. Ran a really good second. I mean,
should have won.
Didn't really have the best trip. Like I thought was the best horse. Just misses to Victoria's Road that day. And like you go back and you watch the race, and she had some trouble when she was way back in the field, made a huge move, and then just couldn't quite get the job done. And they went faster. They went 113 to the 6 furlongs. They finished in 135 and 4, and she was able to still make up some ground in between that time. So I think Silver Knot's the real deal. I think that you're going to see Appleby send some of these horses a little bit early so they get prepped up for the U.S. circuit, for the big money races that are coming up over the summer. I think it's all systems go on the 4. I'm just going to single up the 4 to try and get through this because, look, I don't want to use the 4 and the 6, and I'm not going to use the 8. And to me, it's the 4 or the 6. And so I'm going to go with what I think is a better horse, and that's Silver Knot.
I'm going to pull up the replay right here. You can see. So the Godolphin Blue is where this horse is. This is the horse we're talking about. And he's just going to ride the rail the whole time. And there's so many times he gets stopped or has to tap on the brakes or can't explode like he wants to. And Victoria Road, the winner, gets just a dream trip comparatively. It's just crazy. Like this is Mike was talking about the bad trip. Like right here. Okay, what are we gonna do? We got a horse slowing down. They're pinching us off. Okay, we gotta wait. Okay, now we go through. Okay, now we're gonna go. Now we've got to go and say. Now the 3's gonna try and squeeze us. All right, now we're finally through. Meanwhile, the 1 Victoria Road's just out for a fun little jaunt. And even right here, the 4's got the lead. It just, I think having to tap the brakes and losing some bits of momentum just loses by a nose there. So. That's what Mike's talking about when he brings is that the horse had a pretty bad trip. I used the horse, of course, was my top pick. I did end up using the other one that you mentioned, the 6 Calic, who we talked about earlier, beat Cumberland, who's in the main special weight on this race. Listen, if Silver Knot gets upset, how do we ever see the Charlie Appleby horses loose other than Frankie Dettori gives a shit ride? It's because there's a horse that gets loose on the lead. Look at what happened with Modern Games. We thought there was no way in hell Modern Games was losing the Maker's Mark Mile. There was a horse, well, there was a whole crazy pace setup, and he was a little bit too far back, and it just wasn't his setup. It would, there wasn't enough speed to come back to him there. Now, if someone else goes balls to the wall crazy, I think that's going to make it a little difficult for the 6 Calic, but he did actually show 2 back when he broke his maiden that he can sit off the pace and he can pounce on it. Lost the turf debut as a 2-year-old to Bat Flip. Bat Flip exited that race to win the Central Park Stakes next time out, so a good horse to finish second too. Third off the layoff, third start at 3, should give a career best effort. This is where Irad Ortiz Jr. is going to stay for the 3rd straight race after winning the last 2. So I went too deep because we saw with a couple of the Appleby horses that have come over, they're not invincible. They haven't looked completely invincible, and it's been cases where that's not to their favor with the setup, and that's why I'm going to end up using the 6 here. It's just, to me, it's the speed is what beats him.
Yeah, I mean, my ticket's $50. When I put the bombs together, I'll probably be 4-6 here. Right. I mean, that's probably going to be what I'm come down to. I agree with you. Calic could sneak away. I mean, that's just the honest truth. And if Calic gets loose, Calic is really dangerous. Where Silver Knot sits is going to be interesting. If you look back, he has been both close and further back from the pace in Europe. So you have a couple races where he's attended the pace. You have a couple races where he's been dead last. So I'm wondering if Appleby is going to show a little more pace with some of these horses, but we'll see what happens. The other thing is that you've got 2 brown horses on either side of Silver Knot. You kind of think that the good old squeeze play might be on out of the gate here. It's like, hey, Congruent, don't go out. Hey, Bellaruni, don't go in. And make Silver Knot's life a little rougher so that Calic can easily clear and get over too. So be interesting to see how the 3 brown horses play this, because obviously in New York in these turf races, handicapping Chad Brown and what his horses are going to do is as important as handicapping the horses in a lot of cases, because you got to figure out which is going to be on the lead. Luckily, it's very easy this time to figure out which is going to be on the lead. The question is, how are the other 2 going to hamper the horse that I think is probably better? It's just a question of whether or not Silver Knot's going to be close enough to get the job done.
We'll go to the chat real quick. Dennis says, my biggest confusion is what happened last time with the 4 Silver Knot. Well, first, it was a layoff, 183 days that he was coming back from, but he was also running on soft turf in Newmarket. I want to say, was that the English Guineas? I'll have to go. Yeah, that was the English Guineas. So that was the Kentucky Derby of turf racing for Europeans. So first of all, I'm not going to poo-poo him for that, but he was on soft turf. If you look back when he the only other race on turf where he really got beaten badly, it was on yielding turf. I think this horse just really likes the firmer ground, like you saw at Keeneland. So I'm willing to forgive him for that one. And then as far as Far Bridge, we need to talk about this for a second. This is your 9-5 favorite. He's a nose away from being perfect in 3 starts. Almost won the Grade 2 American at Churchill Downs on Derby Day. And Nick Feldman, I know he's a huge Far Bridge fan. He brings up a great point that Far Bridge was trapped inside last time, passed horses inside. And then he brings up why I'm very nervous about using this horse. Rosario was the one to fly home down the middle of the track. And maybe he will. But I really can't feel that confident that Rosario's not going to get this horse into a world of trouble again, Mike.
Well, and if your argument is, and that, by the way, the American turf collapsed, right? Can we agree on that? Like that was a collapse race. So that helped Far Bridge quite a bit in that spot. If you're worried that Silver Knot doesn't have enough pace to close, what do you think Far Bridge is going to be doing, right? Because that really is the question, is what is Rosario going to do with this horse? I mean, I've watched enough to know Rosario's not going to hustle this horse out of the gate and try and get position in 3rd early around the first turn. Like that just ain't happening, right? So if the plan here is, hey, we're going to try and come from way off the pace, that's a bad plan. And I think Silver Knot's better at doing that. And so that, to me, is why I kind of use one and not the other. Look, can Farbridge win this race? Of course Farbridge can win this race. Probably, in my mind, the 3rd most likely winner if you're really like breaking it down from percentage angle. But if I think they're the 3rd most likely winner, I have concerns about the ride, concerns about the pace, and I don't think he's the best horse coming from off it, and it's the favorite. Now, I'm not using that horse very often.
Yeah, it's But again, there's also a good question or a good comment that Nick Feldman also made. Major Dude shipped to Penn. Granted, that's also as a mile. I think is better for Major Dude at this point than a mile and an eighth. So I think that is also partially why Pletcher shipped Major Dude to Penn National for that Friday race. Which, by the way, you want the preview for that? Go to racingdudes.com or youtube.com/racingdudes. Aaron Haltman did that preview. It's up right now on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. And then Nick Severs asked, why not keep Farbridge at Churchill Downs? There is the Audubon Stakes, $225,000 purse, so slightly higher purse. We know that he likes Churchill here. He's coming to a different track. The grade 2 really does mean that much, though, because if you look at the breeding here, Mike, it's an English Channel. Who's, rest in peace. This is English Channel's best horse running right now, out of a Kitten's Joy mare. So if you're thinking potential stallion prospect, a stakes win for $225K at Churchill Downs or a grade 2 win at Belmont Park for $200,000, that $25,000 is kind of a wash because of what it does for you as a stallion prospect.
And to be fair, the arguments in here, do you think Farbridge? No, I don't. I think Silverknot's going off as the favorite. I do, but I don't think Farbridge is going off at 5-1, right? And I don't think Farbridge has a better than 20% chance of winning this race. So that to me is where you kind of get into it. It's like, because the morning line is 9-5, you're naturally going to get more money bet on this horse just in general. It's also the favorite American horse. Generally, you're going to see more money come in because of that. And so when you kind of go through that process of it, the morning line, well, I agree, is not. It matters, right? It matters from a money perspective. And so I don't want to completely dismiss that the Farbridge is the morning line favorite. When if I were setting this morning line, I think Silverknot should be 7-5, Calyx should be 2-1, and Farbridge should be like 5-1. And that's just, I would have to probably, but if I were setting morning lines, I would juice up a lot more horses. I'd have a lot more 20-1s than what you see out there. But that's beside the point. To me, Farbridge should be in that 4 to 5-1 range if you want to actually play the horse. And I don't think you're getting anywhere near 4 to 5-1 on race day.
Yeah, it's funny that there's 3 Chad Browns and only one of them could potentially take any kind of money. And that's the one I'm using here. By the way, we didn't talk about it, but Congruent has moved to Chad Brown for this summer. They wanted to tackle the New York turf racing, so they took him away from Antonio Sano. A good trainer to move him to, but he's got to be like, what, the 8th or 9th best turf 3-year-old in that barn right now?
We'll see. This was a stable him up horse. I think there's talent in this horse. I think Congruent, I don't remember which race I stabled this horse up off of. Was it the Pulpit? I think it was. Yeah, it was the Pulpit, the first time on turf, where the horse ran third behind Ari Gold, who took the field gate to wire. I thought had a tough trip there, was still able to make up some ground. They were pretty aggressive with this horse after that. Went to the Daytona Beach, runs fourth, goes grade 3 Kitten's Joy, then sends him on the Kentucky Derby Trail over Synthetic, where he looked very, very good in the Battaglia, ran a 91, which is, by the way, the second best buyer speed figure in this race. So if I wanted to get kooky, the 5 would be the kooky one for me. Like if I was going to go 3 deep and I wanted to use a price, it would be 4, 5, 6. I think Congruent has the talent, and this barn switch I think cannot be under or overestimated here. Going from Sano to Brown with a turf horse is a massive, massive jump up. So I wouldn't be shocked if Congruent is the one that makes this thing pay.
Nick wants to know, Tapit's like turf. Tapit's like everything except listening to directions. That's the one thing they don't like.
And winning the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, shots fired. All right, let's move on. 5th and final leg of the Belmont Park late pick 5 on Saturday, June 3rd. # Tapit Trice. Race 10 has 12 New York bred maidens plus 4 also eligible, going 1 1/16 miles on the outer turf. Remember, that's 1 turn. These are New York breds in maidens in for $40,000 claiming tags. The absolute classic Naira final race on a Saturday. And we both just looked at this and we'll take half the field. Go ahead, lead us off.
Let's talk about the thrill of victory. The 9-horse Mike Goldmaker drops this one in class. And I felt like you almost had to use the class droppers here because this race is such a mess. This is one of the horses that's dropping from maiden special weight down to the maiden claiming level. If you draw a line through the one race that was run on the dirt, and which you should because this is a turf horse, the races got better a little bit every time. This horse debuts at Saratoga. Gaffleon gets the mount. So Maker, Gaffleon, Saratoga. That's who you want to see on him. Comes back second time out at Backwaduck. Irad Ortiz picks up the mount. Okay, they think something of this horse. Last time out, it was Toledo who rode this horse at Belmont. That's a little bit of a head scratcher, but we won't go there. Now we're getting second off the layoff, second time with Lasix, and dropping down to our friends. I like 5-1 here as well. Pretty nice price in a wide open race. So I'll go with the thrill of victory, the 9-horse on top.
Almost was my second. This is like my 1A top choice. By the way, the Toledo rode because literally, here's the jockeys that were available that day at Belmont: Gomez, Dylan Davis, Herman Harkey, Eric Cancel, Vargas Jr., Trevor McCarthy, Carmouche, Juarez, Romero Murat, I remember which one that was, and Katie Davis. It was Kentucky Derby day. It was a little slim pickings for the jockeys in the New York colony. That's why Giovinazzi was aboard. But yeah, love all the angles that you mentioned there. Maker and Lezcano 5 for 16 in the past year. That's 31%. Hitting the board a very nice 69% in the last year. So I like this horse as well. Top pick for me, number 3 War Prince at 9-2. Rob Atras and Manny Franco hitting at 27%, not 97, 27% winners in the past year. This horse is gonna be third start off the layoff, third start at 3. Following a career best effort last time out when another horse that I used, I think you might have used as well, the 2 Barry the Builder, he tracked behind him and was able to get past him late in a very similar race to this one. So War Prince, my top pick. I think this horse is primed to give a career best effort. Just a matter of if he's going to be good enough to win.
My second pick, another must-use horse here. I think War Prince makes a ton of sense. Cutting back as well, you didn't mention the post last time. Broke out of the 10 out of 12 hole, going 1 mile and a 16th on the Belmont turf course. That is a really bad post, going 1 mile and 16th the Belmont turf course, because they take essentially like we'll call it a quarter left turn, maybe a 16th into the race. And if you are outside, you'll just get fanned out wide and all of a sudden you don't have position. This horse actually tried to be close to the pace in that spot, ended up 2 or 3 wide on that little fan out, then had to track from that position. Wasn't a wonderful spot to be. I think the cutback is solid here for War Prince, so I like him as well. And of course, our boy Dan, Franco in the last. That's all you got to know, right?
Oh, I forgot about that angle. Yeah, Dan Tordman, Manny Franco in the last.
So the 3 was my second horse here. I'm going to go to the other maker. I believe it's the other maker. Yep, the 12, yep. Bad Larry, all the way on the outside. This one, to me, again, one of those spots where, look, I don't love Steve Asmussen, specifically with turf horses. He didn't put this horse on turf. Maker decides to claim this horse. Has one solid workout here. Got a bullet work, 1 out of 56, 47 flat there. Now putting this horse into a turf sprinting race, City Zip. I like that. Quality Road on the bottom. I like that. So to me, this is a horse that probably wanted the turf. Maker now claims the horse, sends it over to the turf. Dylan Davis takes the mount. I don't love the 12 posts. It can be a little funky, especially depending on what this horse wants to do. That last workout leaves me some hope that there's a little more speed than what we've seen in the past, though. I mean, this horse has not been forwardly placed. Ran $30,000 maiden claimers last time on the dirt. Now we're claiming jumping up to 40 and switching surfaces. I think there's going to be a little more pace today from Bad Larry. I think it'll be a little closer to the pace, and this is not a group of world beaters, and I trust Mike Maker off the claim, so I'll go with the 12 horse 4-1 as my third horse in.
You talked about the War Prince, like, boy, that 10 post, it's real rough. Let me tell you about the 12 post here for Bad Larry.
Well, hey. We're sprinting here, right? Or am I making... No, never mind. 16th. No, terrible post. It's a bad post. Not going to lie.
I looked at this horse because it is the other maker, and the angle that you mentioned, he claims the horse and says, we're going to go right to the turf with you. I didn't like that at 4-1, we've got Dylan, which 4-1 is the morning line favorite from the, not counting the also eligibles.
Also will not be the favorite, P.S.
Boy, you should hope not there. Dylan Davis, 1 for 33 the last year riding for Mike Maker. So not necessarily his go-to jockey, and that's who shows up here. So all those things, plus the post, it kind of scared me off of Bad Larry. If he was drawn, halfway inside of this field, I might be a little bit more interested there, but just won't make the table. But again, this race, you could make a case for just about everybody. We're going to make a case for just about everybody between us here. I did mention Barry the Builder last time out was part of the pace. It was in the race where War Prince just kind of caught him late. I got up for 4th. By the way, Miracle Mike is post 14. He needs 2 horses to scratch to get in, but he's an interesting one as well. He was 3rd in that last race as well, so watch out for him if he makes the field here. He is the actual morning line favorite at 5-2 if he draws in. But Barry the Builder, it's just he's a horse that kind of likes to be closer to the pace, and the fact that last time out was our first time dropping down to the claiming ranks, he was hounded. He was hounded pretty good, and I don't necessarily see that there's a lot of pace that's going to go with him here. And with these claiming ranks horses, especially on turf in New York, just give me a horse that I know is at least going to give me a shot at the quarter pole. If you're still in the lead at the quarter pole, turning for home, I'm at least going to feel good about the chances there. The jockey Torres is only 11% in the last year, but riding for Rudy Rod, he is 18%, and Rudy Rod in the last year at Belmont Park hitting at 20%. So some things to like about that horse, but I'm not loving the 5-1 price. I kind of get why a little bit, but just because of the quality of the field here, I just need this horse to hold on, and I think maybe we found a field where he might be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't hate the cap. I didn't use the horse because of the price, and because honestly, like that race last time was not good. Like to me, that was one of the bigger problems. Like if not then when is one of those situations. However, second off the layoff should be the speed. I get it. Like I don't hate the 2 as a use here, but I wanted to try and price hunt a little bit more. So I went to a couple horses with double-digit odds. The first one for me was a 6-horse, Just for Luck here. Just for Luck, switching barns from Jack Sisterson barn over to the Raymond Handel barn here. Katie Davis stays aboard. Really interesting race last time because this horse was just wildly overmatched in a maiden special weight. Now that we're dropping down here, and if you go back to that first race on the turf, and I realize we're going back to October 15th, 2022, so it's a while back. Worthington won that race in a maiden special weight. I thought the horse ran really well, especially for being 75-1 in that spot. So right. I think there is some talent here. I think the switching over to Ray Handel, who's 12% first-time trainer, he's 26% second off the 148, and he is 27% with Katie Davis in the last 2 years. So I'm going to give this 6 a shot. I think there's some talent. I think we're going to see a little bit more, especially adding blinkers this time.
Yep, I did use this horse as well. And if you look at, this horse was not only overmatched in the first start, this horse has been overmatched in all 3 starts. And I almost left off because I thought, what if this horse just said, this really sucks? Like, I'm not running against anybody I can compete with. I'm just always in last, and I don't want to do this. But he debuted at Keeneland as a 2-year-old. Super freaking tough spot. Goes to Gulfstream Park for the next start. That's right in the heart of the championship meet. Super tough spot for a maiden 3-year-old. Comes to Belmont Park last time out. Drew the rail, got shuffled way back and was 14 lengths back at some points, and just again never got out of last place. Probably just said this really sucks. But Katie Davis clicking, like you said, at 27% last time. I think that's going to be part of it as well. Just she needs to make sure, and hopefully the blinkers help, that make sure you just get this horse engaged early. Like, put a few horses behind him and see if he feels a little bit better about himself. So I use a 6 as well. And then you also, we both use the 8 as well as a long shot at 10-1 on the morning line. Silent Running began his turf career with 2 good efforts, running third by a pair of necks and then second. And then they tried a Saratoga Stakes after that while still a maiden. And I'm almost a little worried we just broke this horse's heart after that, because it hasn't been good for this horse ever since then. It had never been closer than 6.5 lengths of the winner at the final spot. But a couple things I like. Flavian Pratt last time out, off of the long layoff, picks up the mount for a very low percentage barn. Jimmy Bond, 11% overall in the past year, 6% in the last year at Belmont Park. Pratt goes, you know what, I'm going to ride this horse. Horse clearly, hopefully, just needed a race to knock the rust off, 132 layoff. Pratt keeps the mount, and I think that's a very interesting move, that this guy is one of the top turf riders in the country. Theoretically, he could have gone to the Maker horse, the 12 Bad Larry, right? He's ridden for Maker before. He could have had a couple of other spots he could have picked up. He stays with the 8, and that was interesting to me. Interesting enough that I want to keep the horse on here and hope that second time out, adding the blinkers like we did with the 6, maybe that makes the difference.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the fact that Pratt stuck around, the fact that it's second off the layoff were the 2 keys here. You mentioned that the races in like that Saratoga race, maiden special weight 75, is good enough to win this race, right? It's just whether or not we're able to go back to that. I think because we're adding blinkers as well, you're going to see this horse be more forwardly placed than we've been in the past, which I think is a positive as well, because that race at 1.8 miles at Belmont for 75K in the maiden special weight, the horse was in the lead, and that was the best race that we've seen from Silent Running. So I like the fact that we get Pratt, we get second off, we get blinkers. I think this is the horse that's going to be sitting in second behind Barry the Builder. And if that's the case at 12-1 getting first run on that horse, I love, because I think Barry the Builder is most likely to stop. So give me the 8-horse Silent Running as well. I think that's a logical winner here.
Neither of us used the first-time starter, the only first-time starter in here. Hari at 8-1 is Jose Ortiz Belmont. We just talked with Shadow Dragon about how that's usually a good combination, but I didn't like that this is a first-time starter who drew the rail and is going to try and go a mile on the 16th for the debut. It's not Mott's first, or not Mott's best angle is doing that. I think this horse probably needs one and probably needed to draw 5 or 6 posts out here.
Yeah, the rail was a huge issue for me. We also talked about like the debuting at a mile versus first-time starters. First-time starters, Bill Mott, 10%. Debuting at over a mile, 3%, 38 race sample size. So not what you see, not a successful move for Bill Mott very often.
We hit all the ones. I just want to real quick, Vashon brought up the, so don't sleep on the 6, which we use just for luck. Also the 5, Fluorescent Bay, at 20-1. Last time out was the first time on turf. It was that race where Barry the Builder, Miracle Mike was third, War Prince was in that race. He never really got going, and a lot of the horses, the top few horses, the top 3 horses in that race all came from the clouds, which is where Fluorescent Bay was early. Fluorescent Bay just never actually started running in that spot. The rest of them, kind of left him in the dust. So I'm not going to use, I believe this is Robbie Davis and Jackie Davis, which are, I can't get this wrong. They're either father-daughter or they're a couple. It's one of the two. They're related, I can tell you that much. But I didn't have any interest in the 5. Did you?
No, I mean, I watched that replay back just because, we've had a couple horses in here that obviously buried the builder and then Miracle Mike who could draw in. And when I watched the 5, I was just like, oh, all right, kind of made a middle move, didn't break wonderfully, but didn't really have a reason for falling back the way that he did. So I'll let the 5 beat me if that's the case here.
Yeah. Nick asks, is there a spot between New York bred maiden special weight and New York 40K maiden claiming? I think this is the one step down from the maiden special weight, right? There isn't another, at least not once they're 3 and up. There's no middle ground.
On the turf, that's correct. I think they do have 75K maiden claimers on the dirt, but I don't think they have that level on the turf. And I don't think they have it at Belmont right now. They may have some of those at Saratoga.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to talk about Saturday's Late Pick 5 at Belmont Park, Saturday, June 3rd. The Pennine Ridge is going to be an exciting race because, like I said, this is a race that kind of gets all the 3-year-olds prepped and ready for the Belmont Derby, which will be a little over a month from now. And then you've got the big turf series at Saratoga and then back at Belmont Park. So lots of exciting things. Love to see the Appleby horses come over because even when they don't win, they're a lot of fun, and they just, every time you see them on the track, they're just so beautiful to look at. But take a look at the beautiful list down below of our tickets. If I can put the stupid banner up right, Magic, come on. What are you doing? Sorry, it's my first time running the show. We'll give out our ticket one last time for the audio listeners. If you're watching on YouTube, take a look. Here it is. I'm going to go 710 with 5-8, with 137, with 4-6, and then spread like crazy. 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, $72. Mr. Somich.
I'm going to play 50-cent ticket with a couple singles here. I'm going to go 1, 3, 7, 9, 10 with 2, 5, 6, 8 with 7 with 4 with 3, 6, 8, 9, 12. Cost you $50 for 50 cents.
Earlier today at, just about 5 hours ago, actually, Blinkers Off kicked off, so you can go check out Jared and Aaron talking about the early contenders for the Belmont Stakes, which is a week from this coming Saturday, so we're almost to the Triple Crown. I got to admit, going into the Preakness, Mike, I said if Mage didn't win, I wouldn't give a rat's ass about the Belmont Stakes. I'm starting to give a rat's ass about it. Not a whole lot more than a rat's ass, but it is going to be interesting. I think from a betting perspective, at least, it's going to be an interesting race. I wish the storyline was there, of course, of chasing a Triple Crown because this is the 50th anniversary of Secretariat winning the Triple Crown. But nonetheless, we still have some interesting races, so you can go check that out. Blinkers Off, you can check it out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast feeds. It's available. And already I see that Jared's got the Belmont Stakes Betting Bible, already starting that as a pre-sale, so you can go check that out. Churchill Downs has a ton of races this weekend as well. Lots of big purses available, lots of good fields. Aaron did the preview for the Blame Stakes, so you can check that out at racingdudes.com and youtube.com/racingdudes. Barber Road is back following that Keeneland win, Mike, but we talked him into the winner's circle. Ugh.
Yeah, well, everyone's got to win one sometime, right?
Yeah, well, that was his sometime. It's going to be a while. See, well, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to talk him back into the winner's circle again. That was not fun for me. It was fun for Shoddy, but go check that out. See if Aaron shares our opinion or Shoddy's opinion about that. And of course, Silver Knot, the Pennine Ridge, Vinny from Real Picks by Dynasty did that preview for us, and the Penn Mile. So lots of previews, lots of fun stuff happening over at racingdudes.com, and of course, you have Mike Somich with the Somobombs, the Racing Dudes Rockets, and the premium products. Nick Seaver says, by God, that shot is music. Love it. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Mike?
No, got interesting NBA Finals kicking off tonight. I think Denver is going to roll. I bet minus 13.5 for Denver today, plus 170. So took a little piece of that. Make sure you're checking out Dudes Bet Daily so you can get Magic's baseball totals. You've been freaking killing it, man.
I appreciate that. We as a team have been killing it. I think, let's see, every day that I've been on in the last 2 weeks, we have gone 3-1 with our picks. Or today, we can't go 3-1 because Papa Dude didn't have a pick. Well, we said if the parlay hit, we were going to count it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there.
I can't remember. It was Astros. I know the Mets won. The Astros, that's the other angle. So we still got it. Did the Astros play yet?
It was the Astros Diamondbacks. But the Diamondbacks are down in the 7th right now, bottom of the 7th. But that's okay because we need some runs in that game anyway. I got over 9.5. We're sitting at 4-2.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know that the bullpen's really rough for Colorado and not great for Arizona. So we'll see. But yes, tune into Dudes Who Bet Daily every Wednesday through Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We have a lot of fun. We're giving out lots of winners. We are up for the year by a few $100s so far. We're going to keep that rolling. So love to have you join us there. Love to have you join us next time for the Magic Mike Show. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week, everybody.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.